But I was thinking about your cooking analogy of like,
Yeah.
do you just want to get dinner on the table? Then maybe HelloFresh or one of those is perfect, but that's not really going to teach you to cook. And it's not going to teach you the nuances. It's not going to teach you the replacements or to pivot really fast. And I
Hmm.
think it made for a really good analogy of, yeah, we're saying you should have fresh foods. We're saying these are good things, but
Yeah.
we're also saying let's be cautious about your purpose. And that if you're just thinking of management as, um, yeah, um, if you're just thinking of management as your stepping stone to your directorship, then
Hmm.
you're missing some key points in what you need to master.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that. I mean, the safe sex analogy, I think, is super fun, but it only goes so far, right?
Yeah.
I think the core principle of that was, we can't stop people from using AI. And in
Yeah.
fact, that's really isn't the goal, is to stop people. It's helping them to learn how to do it in a way that is actually productive for them. And my, and I think some people might call us out and be like, oh, you guys are just feeling threatened because AI is going to come and replace you. And it's like, well, yes, I may have a bias around, who may be a better coach. Is AI a better coach or a human better coach? And then we can save that debate for a different day. But I think for us, at least for me, it's the sense that you cannot expedite something that's taken other people maybe years to learn, to perfect, to master. And just because you have a tool that helps you do things easier doesn't mean that it's going to replace your skill.
Yeah.
Like it's not a skill replacement. And I think that's probably what the line is when you start thinking of AI as skill replacement on the
Hmm.
individual level, right? I'm not talking about skill replacement on the company level, like where you could have some tasks, be
Automated. Yeah.
completely automated. And that is, and then that sense, in that case, it is a skill replacement. But on the individual level, like we're using cooking, right?
Yeah.
If you want a home cooked meal, there's very few ways to shortcut that other than get the ingredients, learn how to cook if you don't know, and then put it together, right?
Mhm.
I think that's kind of where we're going with this is like you can't look at AI as, oh, I can wash my hands free of learning how
Yeah.
to be a good manager or how to be a good leader. I can cut my time in half because I don't need to spend time worrying about XYZ. I don't need to spend time trial and erroring because AI is just going to help me be a better manager. And I think what people don't realize is that the learning comes in the trial and error. Like people
Yeah.
don't want to fail, people don't want to look stupid, but guess what? Those are the moments where you actually learn what's not working and what is working.
And to your point, I would say there's two things about, I think, again, yeah, we're coming from the same place and we're going to the same place with this. And one is we're not naive enough to say we can stop something like AI or encourage people to. That's a naive and foolish view. People are going to use it. So our
Hmm.
recommendation is use it wisely. And our
Hmm.
goal is to say, yeah, I don't feel threatened that I'm going to go away because you have to know the right questions to ask people as a coach and a manager. And AI isn't going to catch them all because even if you give AI every input, it can't input all of the other variables of the human interaction. And so while it might give you some great structure and some good ideas and a checklist for things that you want to touch on in a topic, it can't replace the way that the conversation goes and how you're going to feel and the sensitivity that we have inside a human connection to know where to go next.
Yeah. And so I think let's back up for a second and tell people
Yeah.
what we think people are using AI for in their management practice. Like what areas are you seeing that people are using AI?
Yeah. So I think there's an appetite of like, oh, I'm going to use AI to write this review. And my response to that is outstanding. What are you inputting? And
Mm,
so if you want to use it to write a review, that's just fine, so long as you're using great notes. Did you have a note taker for all of your one-on-ones? Can you also upload all of your corporate goals and the person's individual goals and tie that to your notes? Can you make clear connections between their behaviors, their actions, and their results to what the goals are? Can you tell AI, here's a pattern of behavior that I'm looking for? And those are the things that you can use it for. Because dropping something into AI and saying, hey, you now write me a review, is pretty naive, because you're going to, one, sound like it was written by Chat GPT, which people catch. People can catch the voice in Chat GPT, so they know you won't have written it. But also, if you're not editing and saying this doesn't make any sense in the commentary, or this doesn't tie to the goal, or this doesn't describe their relationship to their team members, then none of that review will make sense. So I think you can use it really wisely to look for patterns, to look for categorization, to look for progress, to make sure that you as a manager have been clear in the goal and clear in the result. You can look for inconsistencies in how you've talked about events. You can look for a better way to say something. Maybe you have this really long paragraph about something somebody did and you're like, that's a lot of words. Give it to AI for better clarity. Make sure it still has the right content.
Yeah.
So I see that as being a powerful way to make the reviews better.
So yeah, I mean, I think your example is actually super powerful to showcase why you can't just jump in and expect AI to do management for you. Like AI is not your manager; you are the manager. And because the thing that you talked about, around correlating and making pattern connections of performance and goals and reviews and conversations, those are actually somewhat advanced managerial or leadership thinking, because most leaders don't even make those connections. So how are you even going to leverage, a tool like Grok or OpenAI or whatever platform you use, if you don't even know what you're supposed to be looking for, if you don't even know what questions you're supposed to ask? I think as good managers and leaders, one thing that I think is so true is that as you go up in layer, in level, and as you go up in complexity of work, one of the key skills is that you need to ask better questions, because you are going to go deeper and deeper into problem solving, whether it's people problem or business problem, whatever problem. And all problem solving or in solution finding starts with asking a really good question. And unfortunately, AI is not going to do that for you. It might ask a thoughtful question, but if you don't have the experience to catch whether that's even the right question to ask, then you're just handing your work and your performance to a tool that has no context of you or your company. So I look at AI like another, I look at it like it's Microsoft Office,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's like if you use Word, Microsoft Word, it's going to it has the capability to write you a beautiful letter that's polished, professional, but you still need to know how to put a sentence together.
And you need to know if that is the progression of sentences that is answering the mail. It can write you a report about anything you want. Is that what was asked for?
Right. And now with I know the Microsoft has introduced Copilot, and so now they have their own AI infused with Office, which is great. But again, no, the tool is not going to understand you as deeply as you do. So if you just told, AI in Microsoft Word, say, "Hey, write me a resignation letter," and then it's like, sure, they're going to give you the most generic template, and it may be in a very good form. I'm not going to poo-poo AI because it does do a really good job.
Yeah.
But you need to personalize it. You need to make sure that it is relevant to you. And also, there are times when maybe it doesn't give you always good advice, because again, AI is just really a combination of human data and human inputs. And so, what's that saying? Garbage in, garbage out. So, you just still have to be discerning. You might still get get golden results, but you need to make sure that it fits with what you're doing and that you're not presenting it as your management style. You're not releasing that as you without you giving it your own layer of expertise.
Well, and for AI's greatness, some of its shortcomings are that it doesn't have empathy, and it doesn't have the ability to say, I don't know. And so as a manager, one of the most powerful tools you have is to say, I don't know. Also, empathy isn't objective. empathy acts like something creative. And so we can have
Mhm.
all of the data in the world backing up a conversation, but you don't have the empathy to understand that maybe someone's grieving for a spouse, a child, a partner, whatever it happens to be. And that's influencing what's happening in their life. And how do you shift your ability to be empathetic in the moment? And so AI can't do that. And you're right. We have to be asking those deeper, better, smarter, empathetic questions because AI can't. And
I go ahead.
and the other piece of empathy is I'm going to put this in everybody's space. Yeah, you can absolutely write a review with AI and take none of our advice. But I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you this, pause and ask yourself, if your boss delivered that to you, how are you going to feel?
Oh, I love that. And when you said that, that just triggered this other thought that I had about how people are using AI to shortcut their management learning, which
Yeah.
is when they need to, because when things are going well, you're thinking, oh yeah, AI can just, expedite some tasks and processes, and that's great. But it's when things get hard and you need to really step up on your human muscle. Yes, I said human muscle of being a
Mhm.
good communicator. That's when using AI can't, you got to do it with a cautious eye. For example, if you need to have a difficult conversation, like an employee coming to you saying that their spouse died, or you need to deliver bad news that they're being laid off, furloughed, or whatever it is, right? You could potentially ask the AI to clean up some thoughts you have.
Yes.
But AI may give you the sympathy, but AI cannot teach you how to be empathetic.
Mm.
Because AI will tell you, oh, yeah, the response you should give or the way you should say this is, I feel so sorry for your loss. Please tell us what we can do for you. And if you were to repeat that, maybe that employee will hear that and be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I've been telling you that my husband's been sick. Why are you saying that to me all of a sudden like you've never heard it before? Or whatever it is, right? Like it
Yeah.
cannot, like when you said empathy cannot be taught by AI, that just made me think like empathy is customized to the person.
Yep.
And I love that you said that because I've seen AI being very sympathetic, and that's
Yeah.
one thing. It can have sympathetic language, like it'll say, you can say in this situation, I completely see you, I feel blah, 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 and all that. That's sympathetic language. Empathy is, can I actually really see what you're going through right now and feel and try to understand and feel what you're feeling in this exact situation, not some generic, I feel sorry for what's going on with you.
Yeah. Can I touch my own self in a way where I understand that hurt and that pain in such a visceral way that
Yeah.
I can say to you, wow, I'm so glad you told me. It's
Hmm.
like that connectivity that AI can never have. And it doesn't matter how many books it reads or how much data it has or articles it figures out. When it comes to needing that empathy and that ability to connect with people, it's never going to be there.
Yeah. And
So,
And also scripting, I'm just never a fan of scripting.
me neither.
I I am a fan of reviewing what you want to say, right?
Yes.
As a manager, you need to do that. I think
Yes.
you have to do that. Before you go into a conversation with an employee, you need to review what is the message I want to send, what is the outcome I'm looking for from this conversation. So you need, and then what are my supporting arguments or whatever. You need to prepare for that conversation. But a script will break because why? Humans are unpredictable.
Yes.
You can never be certain what the other person's going to throw back at you. And as soon as they throw you I don't know, a curveball, your script is falling apart.
Oh,
And you and I know this. Like we teach this to leaders of how to manage sidetracks. We call them sidetracks because sometimes it's unintentional. You might say, Beth, you might come to me and be like, "Hey, Wendy, like just after you know all these patterns of lack of performance, we've decided that it's best we let you go, whatever it is, right?" And maybe and you would expect, maybe AI would expect that the person would, yeah, feel bad, and then you're just going through the script and you just keep talking so that you can drown out whatever response people have. But the thing is, you can never predict what I'm going to say.
nope.
Maybe I'll be like, you know what, fuck you, Beth, I'm out of here. And then
Mm-hmm.
what do you say? Does your script account for that? Or maybe I start crying and I grab and that's, this has happened before, so I don't make shit up like that. Or what if I start crying and I grab your hands
Mm-hmm.
and I say to you, Please, Beth, don't do this to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sick mother. Please don't lay me off. Whatever, or please don't fire me. Like, what are you going to do then? Your script is falling apart right that second. Or maybe I do act like like the avatar you think that I would be, and I'll just be like, well, that's unfortunate, but thank you for your time. You know, right? Like
Yeah.
you just don't know what the other person's going to do, and this is not to say that you can't know someone enough to have a good I would say guess of how they may respond. But the thing is, leadership and management do not rise during times of flourishing, during times of joy. It happens when things go bad,
Yep.
right? We
Yep.
need leaders because things are volatile, people are volatile, and you need leadership for those moments. You don't need leadership when things are so smooth that AI can do your job. That's not
Yeah.
when leadership happens.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to make the case that I don't think either one of us feels particularly naive or threatened because ultimately we know the value of human connection. And for
Mhm.
every single CEO who is looking through a succession planning going, well, how come we're having so much turnover right now? Well, we've got some hints for you. It's related to empathy. It's related to great leadership. It's related to excellent management.
Mhm.
Without that, your people will fail. If they aren't getting the opportunity to practice and they're leaning on AI to do those jobs for them that can't be done with AI, then of
Mhm.
course you're going to lose great people. They know there's not a people behind it.
Yeah. And this actually is reminding me of a conversation I just had recently with a friend of mine who's working at a tech company, and they decided to close down one of their regional offices. And closing office meaning like they're just not going to have the physical space,
Mm-hmm.
And that decision was made purely from a financial perspective. They were looking
Yeah.
at their line items. They saw that there's a one location that did not have a lot of badge entry. And then so they said, well, why are we keeping this? Right. And then part of their ways of recouping that for employees is they were looking at badge entries to see who were the few handful of people who went into the office the most. And then we'll give them credits to a co-working space. And while on the outset, it might seem like, oh, okay, they're trying to do right by employees. But that decision was purely from a financial standpoint because they're looking at how much can we save. Um, but I think this is also an example of why talent management, the space of managing people and leadership is so difficult. Because during those discussions, wherever that discussion was initially held, someone should have raised their hand and said, what about employee morale?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you may give those people credits to not badge to for a co-working space so they feel like they still have some semblance of a space because they obviously liked going into a building. But why do they like doing that? Did they like doing that because there were coworkers on their team or they had a best friend at work? It's just not the same kind of dynamic. And those conversations can easily be brushed off because it's like, well, you can't measure that. That seems so soft. Our numbers don't indicate that. And the thing is, people science is hard because you can't always put a number to it, or maybe the number sometimes doesn't come up as fast as financial numbers.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people numbers are very hindsight focused. It's not until like maybe those people leave and then you get a survey from them or after years of doing something, you're like, oh, yeah, that didn't work. But what were some harbingers of that effect? Well, that's where a lot of us professionals in this talent space come in. But our field is difficult because we're not in a numbers game.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And that's to your point is one of the things that I realize we're always tasked with like, what's your return on investment for employee development? And I'm like, I can tell you in 11 quarters from now, can't tell you tomorrow. Your people
Yeah.
want to learn and they want to be invested in long term. This is not a transaction. Learning is not a transaction.
Yeah.
Develop is not a transaction, which is why AI can't handle it because it's not transactional. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, you can look at my chat GPT history, but that's not the point, is these sort of trying to make personal interactions transactional through AI is not going to help, and it's not going to replace leaders.
Yeah. I also personally hate the question of ROI on
Oh
people
God.
investment. I personally hate it because
Yeah.
to me, that question really rolls up to the final boss of the question, which is what's the ROI of having employees?
Yeah.
Well, what's the ROI of having computers? You
Right.
don't talk about that because you know those are necessary components to carrying out your business. What's the ROI of you upgrading your software, of upgrading your technology? Well, you got to upgrade your people too.
Well, and
And
that's it, right? Is all that
yeah,
hardware are depreciating assets, but you get pissed off if your people aren't learning all the time, and you want those assets to appreciate, but without paying for it.
right. And you want them to magically just get better. We
Right.
assume, oh, you've been in this job for 5 years. You should be really, really good. It's like, well, I was really, really good at this one thing, but I have not progressed beyond this one thing because you do not give me resources to progress.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's also the confusion. A lot of organizations look at it is they say, well, it's just time in a role, it's experience, it's tenure in a role. You're just going to learn through the job. It's like, well, but how does that actually happen? That doesn't happen by accident.
No, no.
And by the way, learning on the job also means that people get access to certain projects. And if you're not providing those projects, if you're not allowing those people to enter into those projects and be intentional about that, then all this talk about learning on a job is bullshit. Because as we know from our very own experience, when it's all, I hate using the term boots on the ground, but like, let's say like at the individual level, when you ground yourself at work, you know that not everyone gets a chance to be on every single project. It has to be a very intentional decision. Delegation is a huge, it's a huge skill set, right, for leaders and for managers. And if you're not delegating properly, if you're not delegating strategically, you might also be doing your people disservice, not only from a project standpoint, but because you're not building up and upgrading your people.
Yeah, learning and using talent. These are, even in lean manufacturing, you talk about waste of talent. And that's one of the things you're engaged in. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Guess what? To a certain point, not everyone's motivated by money in the same way. Right.
100%.
Like you may be in a really good job that pays really well, but if you're bored out of your mind and you feel like you're not challenged, a lot of people would actually go take a lesser paying job where they feel like they have bigger impact. I know it sounds silly. It might sound silly to people. It sounds illogical. Like, why would you go and take a lesser paying job? But the thing is, money is a motivator to a certain extent.
Mhm.
And people who are strategic about their skill set, about their career, will see the larger picture and would be willing to take a pay cut if they can see that it can be a better projection for them for the future.
And I'm going to say this too. I'm going to tie this back to poor management. People will walk out of very high paying jobs when there is a terrible leader,
Oh, absolutely.
and they will take a pay cut to get away from those leaders. So if we think we can do some replacement with AI and quote get better, then we're preparing ourselves for a period of time when you see talent drain.
Hmm. I can say right now, even though I've been out of the corporate space for 2.5 years and I have never had the experience of a manager who's automated their message to me, but I could just imagine if time and time again, my communication from my leader just sounds like it was a script from a machine, I would never take anything they say seriously.
No. Mm-mm.
Because to me, it's like I'm going to give it the level of personal gravity that you've put into the communication.
For sure.
So at that point, I will feel like I'm being managed by AI or being managed by a machine. And you cannot disengage me any faster than when you show me that you have no respect for me to even spend a few minutes to learn about me and to actually write a heartfelt communication. And when I say heartfelt, I don't mean emotional. Heartfelt meaning that it came from you,
Mm-hmm.
right? It came from you with your perspective. You're not putting bullshit in it. And and this is also kind of a warning for a lot of the younger generation that's going into the industry and expecting to be managers and leaders super fast. It's like, oh, like good kudos for your ambition, but you better learn how to be a good people manager because nothing's worse than realizing years later that you were the shit manager that people complained about.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I love that our conversation spanned from AI to employee engagement to employee morale. I mean, it's all connected, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So any parting thoughts for folks? Anything actionable that you want to leave for folks? I feel like people need to be able to do, I feel like we need to leave people with something to do after this.
Yeah, and my charge to people is this. Look, I know as a manager you're going to use AI, and I think you should use it wisely. Put two things in your forefront of your mind as you use AI. What is my purpose in this? Am I creating a clearer, more concise piece of communication for my employees? And am I doing this in an empathetic way that I will customize to that person when it's time to use this? Because if the answer to either one of those things is no, then I would argue that that's not a good use of AI. So I'm going to say check in with yourself on why you're using it and how you're going to be empathetic by using it.
Yes, I love that. And I don't think I have anything to add to that because I think that's a big enough kind of takeaway and action item. And I guess the my cherry on top, or just a coloring of like between the lines of that for me is, don't think AI is your leadership development.
Mm-mm.
You cannot learn through reading a script. You cannot learn through a prompt. You may ask AI, hey, well, how do I become a better leader? And it will give you answers to solutions, but the solution needs to be executed by you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you cannot learn leadership through a textbook. You have to practice it. You have to suck at it. You have to learn from it. And you have to have the humility and the courage to be able to suck at it and get back from it and say, you know what, I've learned from this, and then do something different next time. So there we have it, folks. Hope you enjoy it. Here's another episode of Two Sassy Bitches on Move Bitch. All right. Okay. See you all later.
That's right. Two sassy bitches.
Yeah. I love that.
I know.